You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Can words become your catalyst for transformation? Stay tuned as we explore the concept of soul statements today. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Today is part of International Stress Awareness Week in the UK, and this is a special bonus episode. In this episode, we explore the profound concept of soul statements, a transformative guide that holds the potential to elevate our communication, deepen our connections, and facilitate healing. Through this insightful journey, we discover how soul statements can serve as a catalyst for enhanced self-expression, authentic interaction, and meaningful conversations. At the heart of soul statements lies the power to tap into our inner wisdom and articulate our thoughts, feelings, and intentions with greater clarity and authenticity. By embracing the principles shared in this guide, we can unlock the potential to communicate more soulfully, bridging gaps in understanding and forging deeper connections with those around us. Whether we seek to heal from past misunderstandings, strengthen relationships, or simply express our true selves, Soul Statements offers us a roadmap to navigate these endeavors with grace and effectiveness. Lyon Folsom has been a professional tracker, wilderness guide for newly sober people, and a vision quest leader. After a spiritual soul awakening, Corey participated in the Human Awareness Institute, Source School of Tantra Yoga, Sedona School of Temple Arts, Love Coach Academy, and Tony Robbins programs. As a love and relationship coach since 2012, he assists persons from all over the world to increase the soulfulness, clarity, and ease with which they experience life. He does this by utilizing body-centered awareness, accessing one's inner wisdom, applying better communication skills, and asking really good questions. Corey's new book, Soul Statements, A Love Coach's Guide to Successful Communication, is a guide for accessing inner wisdom to increase the clarity and ease with which a person shows up for life. Let's meet Lyon Folsom. Hi, Corey. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because soul statements is such an interesting space for holistic healing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Petra.
I'm excited to have you here because we'll be talking about your book today as well. But before we dive in, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your story and how you came to write soul statements?
Certainly. Well, basic outline is I'm a father, I'm a love and relationship coach, now an author. I consider myself a student of history and a seeker of truth. And if I had to kind of condense myself into one statement, I might say that I strive to be honest with myself about my own motivations. And in my early life as a young man, I didn't speak up for my needs. It wasn't modeled in my family or community or time. And I was really shy, painfully shy. And another way of saying it is that I shrank from my exuberance and my certainty about who I was and what I was. And so my early intimate relationships were defined by poor patterns and just less than optimal relationship skills, to say the least. And so a bunch of big shakeups along the way, divorces, ocean accidents, horse riding accidents. And so each one of those events, I let it inform me, and I tried to understand myself and watch myself as I went through those things. So I just learned as I went. And at some point I had to make a decision that my past or my conditions were not going to define me. And I hired a love coach to help me get to where I wanted to go, to that, promised land. And that changed my life. I worked with him for a couple of years and made a deep study of all of it. And it got me springboarded into who I am today and what I do today. I've been a coach since 2012, and I've had amazing teachers and amazing students. And that's how I got here.
Wow, that sounds like quite the journey. I love how you took on what you learned and became a coach yourself. And now you are helping people with their challenges. And what inspired you to write your book, which is called Soul Statements? But what inspired you to write that?
Well, Petra, the common questions that I hear from my coaching clients are, I want better communication to move beyond tension with my partner. I want a deep yet lighthearted connection with a beloved. How do I prepare myself to meet someone new and not repeat the old patterns that I don't want to do anymore? And how can I just better understand the partner I'm with and respond in a more empowered and respectful way? And so this led to, me drawing on different teachings and tools and that I've been exposed to and synthesized for myself. And I found myself saying some similar things to a bunch of different clients. I saw how much it really helped them to change what they told themselves on the inside in that moment of distress or contraction or tension. And so what we say to ourselves in those moments really resets and redirects us into a better direction. So it just all evolved into soul statements. And at first I thought, wow, I should write about this, maybe a blog. And I hired a writing coach. As you can see, I'm a fan of coaching. And so 4.5 years later, it's a book.
Wow. And you put a lot of effort into that 4 years of coaching and writing. Wow. This is so inspiring. And do you want to maybe explain to listeners what a soul statement is? So now that we've heard the title of the book and we learn a little about you as a coach, but what is a soul statement and how does that work for your clients?
Yeah. A soul statement is a present time declaration about the unchanging nature of who you are at your soul level. So it's a way to briefly touch who and what you are at your depth and quickly just drop down underneath that surface concern and embody a more grounded state. So in other words, when I have some worry, I might go, oh yeah, that's what I usually think about. Those are the thoughts that usually come in when I'm in a worry state. And so I can pull out a soul statement and say, I can trust my deep knowing to guide me. So that's a soul statement. It's true. It's not some future state that you want to arrive at. You can trust your deep knowing to guide you right now. And so that's an anchoring into, oh, I have resources. I am resourced. And that's the process in a nutshell.
I love that. And some of our listeners might be familiar with affirmations because those actually get thrown around a lot and many people talk about those. So how are soul statements different from just saying an affirmation like I am happy or something like that?
Yeah. An affirmation, as we've come to understand and use them, which are awesome, is a way to emotionally inhabit a desired experience or state. And so even though maybe we're stating it in present tense, it's what we want to get to, what we want to become or feel. And with a soul statement, you're not trying to trick your brain. It's just you're going back to something that's already there, that you already are. And so there's no incongruency. Your cells will respond and say, oh, of course. It's just a knowing of a reminder of what's really good and solid about me. And so, in other words, when not sure how to proceed, another soul statement might be, when I trust love, I can handle whatever happens. Or if you're feeling wounded in some way, something is hurtful, a soul statement might be, my heart is a treasure. And so with a soul statement, you're remembering who you are more than any circumstance or worry. And a nice benefit is with a little bit more inner security, a little more ease that the soul statement brings, it becomes a lighter lift to just suspend judgment about whatever's happening about the person in front of you and be available to listen and be a little more curious about the other person and why they might be acting in a certain way or saying what they say.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And can people sort of learn with you and through your book how to create these soul statements? I would imagine that maybe if people have experienced trauma or problems in relationships, that's saying, if I trust love, they might not trust love. So can they learn this process? Can they heal through this process of creating soul statements?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're not necessarily trusting a love that's out there. You're trusting the love that's at your center. And it's just returning to whatever's good and true about you and reminding yourself that whatever is inside you is able to handle whatever's outside of you.
Yeah. So a little bit of accessing your intuition and your inner wisdom to bring about these statements. That's a wonderful technique. I love that.
Thank you. And part of the genesis of my thinking with it is one time I heard Tony Robbins say that our brains are not designed to keep us happy. They're designed to keep us away from danger. I'm paraphrasing. And he said, I always remember this. He said, and what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. And so this is a way to affirm what's right. And it's not about ends, or it's about the resource of who you are deep down.
Yeah, that's a great point. And especially in times of stress or challenge or in relationships or work, we forget that we have these inner resources that we can tap into. So this is a great way to access them and make sure that we stay connected to them. Now, is there a formula to creating the soul statements? Is there some process that we should follow if we wanted to create our own soul statements, something that you recommend?
I do recommend. And the thing is, it's ideal to come up with one or more soul statements in a neutral time when you're just alone and can quiet your thinking and just connect with your center and what's there. And so then if you come up with a soul statement like, I have grit inside me, like I have a resilience, in other words. And so if you establish a few soul statements, then they're in your back pocket to when you're in distress, you can pull one out and go, oh yeah, that's the one right now. So basically you're feeling your true essence and coming up with a statement that supports that. And so a good one might be, I am enough. I am enough. And so once you have that, you're like, okay, you can write it down or whatever you want to do to help remember it. And you literally put a piece of paper into your back pocket to pull out. And so when you first come across it, then just as deeply as you can, just feel the truth of it. So you're really establishing this cellular knowing, this deep well within you that goes, yeah, and it's always been true and it always will be. So you're emotionally anchoring into the truth of it. And then you will say in real time, when you're feeling that soul statement, then you can make your next thought, your next action congruent with that. And a lot of people really like to involve some physiology. So a person might put their hand on their heart and just declare, my heart is a treasure. Or they might put their hand on their belly and really feel they're holding some power there. Or maybe one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. And so other people, and I like to do this, I can make a power gesture. So if I say, I got this, and I feel that grounding into the statement, I might also just kind of clench my fist, like, I got this. That's more of a masculine thing, sort of, kind of. I'm not, I say that meaning women have masculine side and men have feminine side. So it's not a woman-man thing. It's just masculine, feminine.
Yeah. I find that very fascinating as you're talking about that, because I'm imagining a statement and really feeling into the sense that I get as I'm thinking about it. So, as I've discovered just now, it works perfectly fine, even if you don't say it out loud, and even if you're repeating it in your head, for example. And what have you noticed working with soul statements? Do you notice changes in how you act throughout the day or how you feel throughout the day when you're using these soul statements? Do you notice any changes in your life and maybe in your relationships also?
Certainly. And I personally feel less impatient. There's nothing I need to achieve in really abbreviated time frame. So nothing needs to happen this second for me to feel better because I've just made myself feel better. So, or a little more better. And so I'm where I want to be. And I can just have more patience with others. And for me, the trick to being more patient and forgiving and gracious with other people is to be all that for myself first. And if I'm critical of myself, then I'm going to naturally be critical of others. And if I want to be less critical of others, I start with me and making it more easeful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They always say clean in front of your own door first. So that makes sense to focus on yourself first and put all that in order and make sure that you're coming from a base of being grounded and feeling comfortable and centered and before you address other people in your life or other relationships. That's really great advice
Yeah,
also.
indeed. And when you have that powerful soul statement, maybe you try out some different phrases. And when you get that one that's like, oh, yeah, that's my most powerful soul statement, there's this almost psychic relaxation or this settling into an emotional, like I'm emotionally home now because I found this center place. And so that's another way to know when you've got a good one.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that as you're saying that you reach a point where you have this innate knowing that that's true and you're in your emotional center. So that sounds wonderful. And is all of that in your book, or what can readers expect when they pick up your book and they read that around the soul statements?
Yes, Petra, it is all in my book. And I wanted to stay away from making it a memoir. So I just sprinkled some relevant anecdotes about my wilderness experience, my horse riding experience, different things to help illustrate how being connected to my center helped me or being not connected to my center didn't help me. So there's some fun anecdotes in there. So some real life examples of how some of my clients have actually had great success with their particular soul statement.
Yeah. And, I'm wondering, because you are a relationship coach, can couples or people in relationships or friends, even, or siblings, work on these soul statements together? Is there something that they can co-create with us as well?
Yeah, they can. And I really like it when you can realize that the couple that is you, your partner, you can be actual partners. Like, let's partner in this thing together in the interest of enhancing our love and connection and just being better at treating one another. And so I'm a big fan of quiet time, alone time, solo time, time for renewal. And so with couples, I'll have them do some journaling and some exercises separately, and then they'll come back together and share what insights or understandings have come up. And I've also found that just telling people some things and sending them away with couples, particularly, doesn't have the results like it would if I actually, okay, here we are, we're on Zoom, and let's just practice this right now in real time. And that's what really helps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just doing it right now. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you walk away as a couple, you go back to your familiar surroundings and you might kind of forget or not apply what you talked about. So practicing that on the spot, I think, creates more neural pathways to kind of reinforce those statements that you're making, and also the feelings that are associated with that. So yeah, amazing technique. And do couples find changes in that as well when they start working with soul statements? Do you find that they communicate better or they're calmer around each other? Like, what can they expect if they start working with soul statements?
Sure. They are calmer in those critical moments is when it's most important. It's like these better behaviors work most effectively when we're least wanting to apply them. And so having a soul statement or 2 or 3 soul statements gives you that space to reflect on the inside. And so in most instances, you're going to say the soul statement silently to yourself. Like, okay, here's what's real, or at least, I have enough anchoring into that to be able to just not lash out verbally in this minute, but just, it'll be okay. This weather will pass. And my story is not me. And what's right is always available. And so when they just have that moment of exchange with their inner voice, they have better outcomes. And I think it was Tim Ferriss that said, probably paraphrasing again, that conversations with yourself are the most important ones you'll ever have. And so it's the basis for, how you perceive the world and how you act in the world.
Yeah, I could also imagine that anyone struggling with stress or anxiety or any number of challenges in their lives could find this really useful, just to center within themselves and bring about some of the healing they may need in that moment and some of the focus and awareness they may need during those times. So not just for couples and not just for communication, but really for all sorts of healing that people might need as well. So I'm very much in awe that you came up with this concept and put it into a book. So I can see how your clients and people who will read your book might really greatly benefit from this technique. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, Petra.
Yeah. Now, would you like to go over some of the programs and services that you offer outside of your book so that if listeners want to work with you, they know how they could work with you and what kind of things you could offer them?
Surely. And right now, I have the book in paperback and in ebook form. And then I also have my coaching practice. I have a website, correlationship.com, where people can just message me or email me, and that's how it begins. So the years to come, next year, we'll probably have more events, workshops, such like that. But for now, it's the book and the coaching.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And as a relationship coach, you do one-on-one and couples coaching, or do you help family members as well? What kind of coaching do you offer?
Well, I just haven't been asked really about extended family. It's either single people, or a lot of people are recently out of a relationship, or that it's been maybe a year or two and they just want to restart, find someone special, but they want to do it in a better way than they have in the past. And then with couples, sometimes it's both together. Other times it's just one person that wants to work on their part. And that actually works really well.
Yeah, amazing. We can all do with some better relationships and taking care of the people we love and how we communicate and relate to them. So that sounds like wonderful offerings that you have. And we will be linking to all of Corey's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on how you can connect with him if you'd like to work with him, and where you can find his book called Soul Statements. And I would highly recommend that you pick up a copy and try the soul statements for yourself and let us know what happens when you work with the soul statements and what changes you see in your life and how you feel. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed our journey into soul statements as much as I have. It has been fantastic chatting with you today, Corey, and thank you so much for sharing this technique with us and the wisdom that you brought today. I've again learned so much in this episode, and I truly appreciate that you came on today.
Indeed. I love talking about it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Corey, and take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.